Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of In Between the Stitches. As always, I'm your host. I'm with my co-host, Chase Olschwanger.
You didn't mention your name, Brady.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, it's your host, Brady Wilson. Sorry. Well, you know who I am. I'm joking. So, it's a bit of a gloomier Wednesday as everyone, here at college starts back at UNT. Hope all the college students can try to keep their sanity this semester. I think all the grade school people have been back, so that sucks for you.
Yeah.
We've had an extra week off. So, but it's been a bit of almost a gloomy week of sports for us Dallas sports fans, and we'll get to that last because that's how we do things here. But we're gonna start off with a few happy things, and just to kind of make ourselves feel better, and then we'll get to the yucky stuff. But we're gonna start off with the Dallas Stars, 26-12-5 since we last talked. Third, no, I didn't do the standings, but I think they're still third in the Central, I believe. So.
I didn't know they dropped it.
Somewhere in the West, so they're continuing on with their hot streak. They beat the Kings 5-1 yesterday. Let's see, hold on, they are fourth in the conference. So yeah, it's the same thing it was last time we talked. So that's perfect.
Keep the consistency.
Yeah, I will take it. Again, all you gotta do is get in. Fourth in the West is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you would like a higher seed, but hey, if the Cowboys or anything, the higher seed does not matter. Again, beat the Kings 5-1. Rope hints. Obviously, what can you say about Rope? Hip hip Rope. Dodonov had a goal. Look at it. Wyatt Johnston, Joe Pavelski, Steele.
This whole team was just playing as
everyone contributed, and that's what I think I'm seeing from the Stars team is everyone's contributing on any given night. And if some guy's having a bad night, the rest of the team picks him up.
That's kind of nice.
It's nice not having to rely on everything going right for your team to win. We play Philadelphia tomorrow at 6 in Philadelphia. So, hopefully they are on their 24-14. So they're another, pretty good team that, they're a different conference. But, I'm not saying, Stanley Cup matchup. I'm just saying that, it's another playoff team on the other side of on the other side of the street. So you're going to need to play good against them. But not much else to say about the Stars. Haven't heard much rumors about anything trade deadline or anything. So
I don't think the Stars need to make any moves. They got the pieces. They got the depth. Just got to put it all together.
Maybe they make a couple house cleaning moves or someone gets hurt. You'd be into something. But
right.
Speaking of trade deadline, we're gonna move to the NBA. Dallas Mavericks 24-17. They're fifth in the West. On a one-game winning streak against New Orleans. I feel like Lou Brown. If we win one tomorrow, it's called the winning streak. Play the Lakers tonight at 7:30 in L.A. But one of our biggest trade targets is off the board today. Pascal Siakam traded to the Pacers, and Chase will be with the details because, well, I don't know everyone as well as he does. So Chase, take it away.
No, it was a big haul. Siakam to Indiana, which I think would be a great fit. He's surrounded by Tyrese Halliburton, surrounded by Miles Turner, surrounded by a lot of guys that can make him better and take some stress off of Halliburton, for example. But no, I think it was a good trade. Raptors get back 3 first-round picks, which was huge. Bruce Brown and Jordan Nwora. Good haul. The Raptors GM has been cooking. He turned OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam into Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, all these pieces, all these picks for guys that are, coming up on big contracts or coming up, into the 30s. OG's still young, but turning these pieces into a promising future. And you got to give him credit for that. But no, again, for the Mavs' sake, he was a big target. Mavs were definitely a top 2 team, I think, to get him, and they ended up being number 2. But it's okay because Siakam was out there saying that he wasn't going to commit 100% to re-signing because he will be testing free agency in the summer. So there was that risk. Obviously with Kyrie it worked, but did you really want to take another chance when? Yeah. It's a little different situation when it comes to Kyrie and Siakam. Kyrie's had the chances, so he didn't really have another place to go. But with Siakam, it was different. But
maybe you can sign him in the offseason.
Yeah, he did come out and say now, after he was already signed, that he looks to get an extension with Indy. So I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. But for the Mavs, there's a lot of pieces out there now that you can look into without getting rid of a lot of pieces, a lot of future.
What would it have taken? I assume Hardy would have been a centerpiece of the deal for Siakam, but I assume maybe Josh Green would have had to be part of the deal.
It probably would have been something like Josh Green, Jaden Hardy, 3 first-round picks, maybe 2 in a second. That's a lot for a guy that you don't know if is going to come back. Sure, he'd help right now.
Yeah. for a rental.
Yeah, you never know. So I don't think it was the wrong decision not to pursue him, but I don't think it was the right decision either. Because adding Siakam would have been awesome, and really would have boosted our championship odds. But now there's guys out there that you can go for that will take just maybe a first round pick at most to get just one. Guys like Andrew Wiggins, who we have interest in now, a guy that definitely needs a change of scenery. Still a good player, 3-and-D guy, can score, a guy that the Mavs would love to have on their roster. There's guys like Jonathan Kuminga on the Warriors as well. A guy younger, still kind of like a Wiggins player.
So I've heard that Kyle Kuzma could be a target for us.
Kuzma, but that doesn't change a lot of what the Mavs need. It's another scorer. Yes, he can play defense. Yes, he brings some size to the table, but that's not what the Mavs are looking for.
Now, I don't know the basketball space as well as you, but would they be targeting? I mean, if you need defense, Dylan Brooks at all?
I mean, he's locked in with Houston.
He is, okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to get rid of him.
You never know.
Yeah, I mean, look at Houston's season; they're looking good.
Yeah.
There's no reason to really change anything up right now, except for getting better. So there's no reason
That's true.
to give away someone unless you're not getting anything in return.
But I mean, for targets, you would have liked to have that power forward. That would have really completed. I mean, that would have been really fun.
I mean, we see the difference when Lively's on the floor and when he's not, and it's a lot to ask out of a 19-year-old to
my age.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm 3 years older than this guy, and he's out here, a huge part of the Mavericks team. Obviously, he's not one of our best players when it comes to scoring, but when he's on the floor, he has that defensive presence, that rebounding. And if you've been watching these games, when he's not on the floor, it is hard to watch. We're getting out-rebounded on the offensive glass, on the defensive glass. There's no interior defense. And I'll give credit to Dwight Powell because he goes out there and he hustles and he gives all he has. But at the end of the day, he's not going to stop these guys. Lively, he's going to be that defensive presence that we need on the floor. So adding a 4 that can play defense, that can rebound, but also can score, that's what the Mavs need. And getting a guy like Kuzma, sure, he can score, but he's not going to be that defensive presence that the Mavs are looking for.
Yeah. And I saw the stat that was our record with Lively and without. It's pretty stark.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's weird to look at that because you got guys like Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, and it's like, well, why do you need to rely on a 19-year-old for these reasons exactly? You can't rely on them to do everything, especially with Luka out right now, and he is questionable for tonight. He's been out for the last 3 games. Kyrie Irving has looked unbelievable, averaging 35 points per game in the time Luka is out. So he's really taken that step to where, okay, your superstar's out. Well, guess what? We have another superstar. So he's stepping up. And it looks good. Hopefully Luka can return to action tonight. You're going to need it against one of the greatest of all time and just, good team in LA. Another game that you need to win. Yeah,
I mean, the Mavs have they're doing good, and then they're not. It feels like Tim Hardaway. Sometimes they're hot, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, speaking of Tim, he's a big piece.
He is.
He's a big piece of this team.
Becoming more consistent, which is what we all
wanted.
He
had 41 points the other night. So,
but I think, like you said, our 2 stars are kind of what's keeping us in this thing when Lively's out, because if Luka's having an off night, which happens, you have Kyrie. If Kyrie has an off night, you have Luka. So you have both guys that you can kind of flip-flop to rely on. And it's better than it was last year.
Yes.
Kids found a way to make it all work. He just needed some time to, get the think tank going. But they've been playing well. They had a rough stretch there. They're starting to come out of the rough stretch, but
just gotta keep winning.
Gotta keep winning. We're only in January, so we're still
lots of time,
7 months away.
And I do expect for a move to be done. I'm not saying soon. Something has to be done because listen, you're going to make a move, not just because you want to win, but you're going to make a move for Luka. Yeah. And it's weird to say, but Luka's not going to want to stay here if this team stays the way it is. This team right now is not winning a championship. And I'm not saying you need to add another superstar to win a championship. You need to add a couple pieces or just a piece like Andrew Wiggins. That's how you build a championship team. Yeah. You get more depth. You get needs, fillings. It depends on the defensive side, on the 3-point side, on the scoring, on the rebounding. As I've said as I've already said. So that's what we need to look into is making sure Luka, Kyrie obviously as well, just making them happy. Because if they don't stay here, then they're going to be bottom of the West for 5-10 years. Yeah,
you got to make your stars happy. Luka, I think it's Mike Reiner always tweets out Luka will win a championship, just not in Dallas.
Yeah,
and it's you want to keep Luka happy. But you can't sacrifice. You can't play with scared money. You can't go, well, we're going to make a move because we need to make a move. Those rarely work out when you do something for the sake of doing something. Yeah, it's usually better just to stay put. But with Luka, sometimes you have to show that we're willing to do something
for him.
But I mean, look at the Angels. They made moves for the sake of making moves to try to prove to Ohtani they're willing to win, and have completely screwed themselves up for the future.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that.
But Mavs are obviously in a different situation. I mean,
it's a different situation. I'm not saying we're the Angels.
Yeah, and it's obviously not baseball. So
I'm just saying that it's for the sake of making moves. Rarely works because if the star wants to leave, he'll leave.
Yeah.
So,
but I do expect for one small move, just something to help, or maybe a big move, something to be done in the near future.
Yeah, we'll see. I believe that's it for the NBA. Can't think of anything that's super notable right now. And again, because we need to talk about something happy, the Rangers did win the World Series. We'll be reminding you for the next about month till spring training starts. Only about a month away, which is happy. Gets me distracted from the Cowboys. But Rangers done a lot of things since we last spoke to you guys. We didn't do one last week. Just some scheduling conflicts, getting ready for school and stuff. But so in that time frame, some of the notable Ranger stuff, Diego Castillo was signed to a minor league contract, which is, I like. I mean, a lot of upside. Same thing with Shane Green, former All-Star. Excellent, has just kind of teetered off a little bit. And then Jonathan Holder, Austin Pruitt, Jose Urena, just kind of guys that are, Pruitt and Holder have been good in the past. Urena is kind of one of those guys that he's a guy. You bring him in, maybe he makes a spot start or a spot couple innings. Just like you're down 10-1, you need someone to eat the last 3 innings. Bring in Jose. He works. But they're all minor league deals with invites to spring training. Daniel Duarte was traded from the Reds. We got cash. We gave up cash. They DFA'd him to make room for Brent Suter, so we got a pretty darn good reliever. I mean, he's got some control issues, but again, like I stress, if they got control issues, that's probably why they're a relief pitcher, because they couldn't hack as a starter because they had control issues. So I mean, he's a 5-pitch pitcher. Looks like he's sinker, cut, fast, 4-seam. So I mean, he's interesting. Of course, you hear all the Rangers fans. I thought we were gonna sign Hader and Neris and Maton and okay, look. I think people were expecting it to be MLB The Show, where you just re-sign 7 new bullpen arms, and that's not going to happen. You've already got Leclerc. You've already got Spores. You got Burke, who for some reason Bochy doesn't seem to like, but you have him. You will have Jonathan Hernandez, who Bochy does like because his sinker is nasty. The problem is he just has problems with it for some reason. But I see at least 2 or 3 names that could make the opening day roster. Castillo, Green, Pruitt. I mean, these guys could make the roster. If, you never know. And Duarte is a major league roster guy. Unless, you sign somebody and he's the guy you DFA, that's also possible. Hector Neri on our thing here, but Hector Neris, it's us and the Yankees, it sounds like, but $50 million.
And that's for a 3-year, $50 million?
I do $345 for a premier setup, man. But $350 is just maybe like 3 years, 45 with the club options, like 55 or something. You know what I mean? Like you give him a little bit extra, but with an option that always works. But I've been saying I want Neris. I do.
Yeah.
I love the way he pitches. I like the fact that he's a bit of an interesting personality, but I like that. I like the passion. I like that he'll. I do like that.
I mean, you definitely saw his personality come out. Watching him last year, after striking guys out or whatever, he would get really into it. He would attack the hitter with emotions, and that's something that the team needs. I think and he's a good pitcher. But do you think guys like Josh Hader are out of the question? Like, do you still think there's potential the Rangers could bring him in?
I mean, I think it'd be fun to stoke the rivalry. But yeah, I mean, you have to be open to every possibility.
Yeah.
You do. I mean, you have to be open to every, even after winning the World Series, it's still me and my father's philosophy. Are they living? Are they breathing? They have a pulse. Okay. Can they throw a baseball just in any direction? They can? Okay, bring them in. That's every team's philosophy. It still has to be your philosophy. And with Hader,
bring back Montgomery. That's all I got to say.
Sure, but the thing about Hader is, I'd love it, but that's gonna you realize that Adolis, you already can't pay him arbitration apparently. Lowe, Heim, these guys are coming up for contract in the next 2 or 3 years. I mean, I know that Heim. I mean, this is at least most of their second, third year. So I mean, they're going to be wanting extensions soon. Right? Maybe they're not due for one, but they're going to be wanting one pretty soon. So you have to keep that in mind. You have to keep in mind what if the prospects fail on the starting pitching side from the minors? What if Leiter, Porter, Rocker, those guys? What if they peter out? Well, then what's your plan after that? Keep doing what you're doing, which is signing vets. That works. Clearly, what we've done works. Signing a bunch of veterans. Which veterans? It means you have to shell out more cash. So you can't put resources everywhere. And I'm not saying that we're in a bad spot. I'm just saying that Hader would be great, and it'd be awesome, and it would fit so well for us. But I think people are undervaluing maybe Sports and Leclerc, and I know that they're not Hader. Hader's arguably the best closer in baseball. But I don't know. I'm not crying if we don't get him. If we do get him, I'm happy. If we don't get him, I'm not pissed off. I would like to see one more reliever signed that's not a minor league contract. I'd like to see maybe one more Phil Maton or Neris or somebody. Bring back Aroldis Chapman I'd be all on board for that. And for people that are just wanting Hader so badly, you thought Chapman's going to give you heartburn? Hader is just the same. Because the way he throws, his motion, it's funky, which makes it, where it's hard to pick up, but it's hard to control. We also signed our new third-string catcher, Andrew Kisner. So, I mean, the guy, his 10 home runs last year. So, I mean, he's got a little bit of pop in 70 games. It's not bad. Hit 241. So his offense, I was trying to read some things from Cardinals fans about, and they're like, well, hey, this guy, he's always been a good defender, and his bat's coming along. So, hey, you bring him in, sure, I like it. It's a major league contract. So, clearly it means that Sam Huff, I don't know what's going to happen to Sam Huff, but I don't know. Not my problem to deal with. It's my problem, but it is my problem to talk about. International signings, Rangers had one of the best classes, which I thought was great.
Mm-hmm.
The number 2 prospect, and people need to remember, so the reason that it's pretty much all Latin American guys is because a lot of the Japanese and Korean guys, they play professionally in their own country. So to be eligible for the draft, you have to have graduated high school from America. But to be a free agent, you have to have played, I think, 5 years professional ball. And most of it's funny, in Japan and Korea, those guys just play the years of professional ball and use that as their minor leagues and come up about minor league a top prospect's age into the majors, between probably 25 to 28, somewhere in there. In Latin America, they sign when they're 16, 17 years old, so that they can develop in America. It's interesting because the professional structure is a lot better in Japan and Korea than it is in Dominican Republic, in Mexico. That's why you don't see any of those guys on there, for anyone that's wondering. But the number 2 international prospect, Paulino Santana. Sure, that's fun. I mean, scouts seem to really like him. I think he's the guy that they're thinking could be very Julio Rodrigo-esque. He's already tall. He's got a nice frame. They're saying the power can develop, which, again, these guys we're older than them by multiple years. So clearly their body has time to grow into it, grow some muscle. Then 2 shortstops. One of the greatest names in baseball history, Curly Martin, number 29 on the board. And then Yolfran, I'm probably butchering this, Yolfran Castillo, number 46. So 3 of the top 50, and we did not have that big of a pool to spend. So I think the fact that they probably either wanted to come here maybe it could have been, we've been on them since they were a lot younger, and we've developed a relationship there. Whether it's they just see the World Series and go, I want to go there. I mean, it could be a lot of reasons, but the fact that you did that without having one of the top bonus pools to spend from is pretty good.
Success.
And just bolsters your minor league depth, which is always fun. I mean, our top international signing was it a year ago, 2 years ago, was Sebastian Walcott. He's already one of the top prospects in baseball. So, I mean, these guys can really rise through the minors fast, and sometimes they take a lot of years. It happens. And interesting enough, because, those are the three major ones. We also signed like 20 other guys. One of them has a tie to the Rangers, and it's Joaquin Arias Jr. And for anyone who's maybe a little bit younger, does not know who Joaquin Arias is, when the Rangers traded Alex Rodriguez, we had a deal with Boston, by the way, that would have given us Manny Ramirez and John Lester as the headlines. That'd have been fun. We traded him to the Yankees. The Yankees gave us Alfonso Soriano and a choice of one of two prospects. One of them was Joaquin Arias. The other one was Robinson Cano. We chose Arias, and he showed potential. And then I believe this is what happened. If it's not what happened, get mad at my dad. He's the one that told me this. I believe he moved into the outfield, and he tore up his shoulder. And it feels kind of like Profar. They tried to move him around, and it just didn't work. Because I believe Arias was a shortstop. And tore up his shoulder, and just failed. So it's his son. So, hey, we have round 2 of Joaquin Arias. I thought that was just a fun little nugget. But in the rest of baseball, Giants signed Jordan Hicks.
That's another target I wanted.
To be a starter.
Yeah, not as a starter, but...
Well, when he gets Tommy John in June, if he makes it to then, we'll talk. Because I just do not see that working out. A guy like him is not a starter. Unless he's planning on not throwing 102.
Yeah.
If you're planning on throwing 102, your elbow is going to destroy it. It's going to pop. It's going to snap. It is not going to work. But you know what? It's not my elbow. And it's not my money. So it's not my problem.
Yeah.
But I hope he's okay. It's one of those, it's that worry for like, here's a great pitcher that's going to get ruined because these idiots think they can start him. Anyway, Yankees signed Marcus Stroman, which good for them. They needed more starters. God knows Carlos Rodon didn't work. Maybe he'll work this year, but they lost out on Montes.
And hopefully Montgomery doesn't go back.
Yeah, I don't think he will. I think he's coming back. I think he's just enjoying the offseason.
Hey, Monty, there's free barbecue. So.
Yeah, and we talk about that. Yeah, the Hurtado barbecue free for life. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal.
And to pivot to Montgomery for 1 second before we get to the Hall of Fame ballot, I think that Montgomery will come back. I would be surprised if he doesn't. And he's the one guy I would be a little bit pissed off if we didn't get him back, because you need him back.
Yeah.
For the first half of the year. For the second half of the year, you really don't need him, depending on how the injuries go. You'll have Scherzer, DeGrom, and Tyler Mahle. Or Mahle. I can't remember how it's pronounced.
Yes.
Is it Mahle?
Yes. No, I'm just saying yes.
Mahle,
Yes to both.
So you don't need him for the second half. But the first half, right now, I think your rotation is, let's go through it. It's Eovaldi, Gray, Heaney, Dunning, Bradford.
Is he going to get that starting rotation?
So you bring, I could be missing somebody, but I don't think I am. So you bring back Montgomery. There's your 5 to start the year.
Let's say everybody healthy, though.
Everybody healthy.
DeGrom, Eovaldi, Scherzer, Montgomery.
Everybody healthy. Dunning,
Heaney, Gray, Heaney.
I don't know who's in the bullpen, because at that point, you bring back Montgomery, because you have 5. Let's say that no injuries happen, and we're playing MLB The Show franchise mode, and we turn injuries off. Who do you send to the bullpen? We got to send 3 guys to the bullpen.
I mean, you gotta send Heaney, Dunning back, right?
Sending Heaney and Dunning are going back, and then I would probably expect Gray because of what he did in the World Series, and he proved that he can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that these guys, and people are going to go, well, how will they react to that? They don't really want to do that. Here's the thing. First of all, Bruce Bochy asked you to do something. I think they're going to do it. But second, they saw what happened when they won the World Series last year. Heaney saw that he went to the bullpen for the better of the team. Dunning saw he went to the bullpen for the better of the team. Gray went to the bullpen for the better of the team. And it worked. And because they understand that Bochy, it's not about, we're moving you to the bullpen because you suck.
That's not the reason. There's too much.
We're moving you to the bullpen because we're bringing back DeGrom. And I think it was, they asked Heaney, and he's like, well, I mean, anytime you have to bring back, it was either him or Dunning. And they were like, what was your reaction? Hell, it may have been Martine. One of the guys who moved to the bullpen. They asked him, well, what do you think? He said, I mean, anytime you can bring in Max Scherzer and George Montgomery, I'm not going to complain about going to the bullpen. They're better than I am. I'm not going to complain. Sure, I'll go be. What it showed me was the difference between a guy like Bochy and a guy that's, I'm going to say like Woodward, but Bochy knows how to tell the players and get them to understand, I'm doing this not because you suck, not because I don't like you, but because we can't roll with 8 starters.
Yeah.
We need you to go to the bullpen. The team he has the ability to stress the fact that the team needs them here, not here.
It's more of a compliment. It's saying that we still want to use you in a good, fashion, but because we can't start 8 guys, we can't start you. So we want to continue to use you, but we want to use you in a limited fashion.
I think that, and now the fact that they've won with Bochy, they will now be more willing to Bochy. If you want me to, go out there and frolic in shortstop, I don't care, sure, because they now have seen when Bochy makes a move, it's for a reason.
Yeah.
And that reason will most likely pay off for a World Series. Gray was huge. To me,
Gray was...
To me, Gray was runner-up MVP, and people are going to go, really? Yes, because 2 of those games were his. Game 1, we do not win without John Gray just coming in there and dazzling and just fooling all the
He came in there with 0 expectations, too. I mean, that was,
That probably helped. The fact that
he wasn't coming in there 5-5. You need a shutdown inning to get it to the bottom of the 9th. He came in there down 5-2, 5-3.
He's pitching
you
free
give up
and
runs.
easy.
Well, you're already down 2 runs. I mean,
he's pitching free and easy. It's confidence. It's kind of like it's the same thing if you're pitching up 5-2.
Yeah,
it's like Heaney talked about when he pitched Game 4 and we got up in that big lead. He just went, I can throw strikes. I know that if they tag me a couple times, who cares? We're up 11-5 now. Oh darn! I'm living.
That happened.
I'm living more carefree, and he pitched a great game.
Yeah.
So you're probably seeing those 3 guys back, and even if they're having great years, it's the difference, like I said, between Bochy and a different manager. Is another manager, it may tick the player off because they don't believe that what they're doing is for the better of the team.
Mm-hmm.
But when Bochy tells you, it's the aura of Bochy, and it's why that some teams need a first-year manager. Like I think the Guardians with Stephen Vogt is going to be a match made in heaven. I truly believe that because they're kind of a team in flux, and they need somebody that maybe is the first. I think they've had the established guy. Now it's time to create a new established guy.
Mm-hmm.
But for the Rangers, who had been trying first-year managers for years and years, we needed someone that was stable. It's the same thing of when you do something for a lot of years, the same philosophy, you need to change it up. That's why I know Seth, he wanted the Patriots to, it's a different sport, but Patriots to have an offensive coach because you've had a defensive coach for the last 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a similar thing of we've had Woodward and Bannister and Wash, all were first-time managers. We need to change this up. We need to get someone here that's established, that we know that can win, that can establish the culture. Because Vogt has 2 or 3 years to establish a culture. Bochy needed to establish one in spring training and was able to. But now to move to the Hall of Fame ballot, which is next Tuesday, is the announcing of the Hall of Fame ballot. And by the way, the Captain Moron, Bill Bailu, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't care to pronounce his name.
He doesn't deserve the correct pronunciation of his name.
He doesn't. And there was another guy that didn't vote for him, Tony Maserati, but I'm focused on Bill because I haven't heard Maserati's reasons. I've heard Bill's reasons, and Bill's reasons suck.
Yeah.
His reason, and you ready for this? His new reason. He went on some podcast, not as good as ours, of course, but he went on some show and was talking, and that was problem number 1. He was talking, but problem number 2 was he said that, well, Adrian Beltre wasn't a guy that you would pay your money to go see. He wasn't the headliner. And I commented like, okay, and it clicked. I think he's a bitter Boston fan who Beltre used Boston for a 1-year deal to prove he gets to kind of prove it type of thing. Not that he needed to prove it, but that I wasn't really around. I was around, but I wasn't really baseball cognizant at the time, so I can't tell you why. But from what it looks like, he went somewhere from 1 year to pivot to an even bigger contract.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like he's pissed off because Beltre spent 1 year in Boston and then left for Texas. And I think it's either some bitterness off that, and I think it's some ignorance. Bill Bayou seems to be wrapped up in a Boston kind of bubble. And then anything out of Boston is bad. Well, Beltre, he's very out of touch with it. Beltre spent every other year of his career a lot farther west than Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Spent it in Texas, the Dodgers, and the Mariners. So I think it could be some ignorance of not understanding that for Rangers fans, he's on our Mount Rushmore. It is Nolan Ryan, Pudge, Michael Young, and Beltre. Seager is creeping his way on there, and he'd probably replace Young, but I don't know. It's a fun debate. He's already up there. He's already really close because of the World Series MVP. But Beltre's the guy who's one of the greatest players in franchise history.
Mm-hmm.
He was a guy that we'd pay money to go see, that was fun to watch, that you would hope hit it to third base because you want to watch Beltre. The most effortless throwing motion. I could watch his fielding highlights all day long. He could hit. Anyway, he's still only 2 votes down. So now for the standings. Here's the guys that matter. Carlos Beltran is at 66.5%, so he's not going to get it, but he's safe from being eliminated from the ballot, but he's not probably going to get on this year. Beltre, I mean, come on now. He's at 98.8%. I think anything less than 95%, and it's criminal.
Mm-hmm.
To me, less than 100% is criminal, but different where we
You're
live
not going
in.
to get that.
Not going to get that. No, you're not. Todd Helton's at 82%,
Yeah.
so he's and he needs less than 70% of the votes to stay on the ballot. So I think that's very possible for him. Andrew Jones is at 71.9, so he's really close. Mauer's at 82.6. He's really close. The guy that I will keep campaigning for, Andy Pettitte, should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Pettitte's going to be a guy that gets in the Hall of Fame on the Veterans Committee, because I think the guys that played against him, the guys that scouted him, they're going to put him in, not the writers. Manny Ramirez is only at 37.7%. He's not getting in. He's eliminated from getting in this year, but he's also safe, so he will be back on the ballot next year. A-Rod is eliminated from the ballot this year, so he will be back next year, but he will not be elected this year. K-Rod is close. I think K-Rod's a lot closer than people give him credit for. Gary Sheffield is at 74.9%. Sheffield is so freaking close. To me, Sheffield's a guy that's going to get in as a Veterans Committee guy.
Yeah.
I don't see it this year, but I think he'll get in. Utley's at 44.3%. Utley feels like Scott Rowland. He's gonna gain. I mean, this is his first year. He's gonna gain traction. He's gonna get enough traction to get in.
Got a good first name.
Yeah. Billy Wagner. Hey, mine's Tom Brady, so he's got a great last name. Billy Wagner's at 79.6%. He is very, very close. I don't see him getting in. Because usually the votes go down from the percentage that we know. Obviously we'll probably know close to 50% of the ballots at the time of the election announcement. So that's,
more information to come next week.
Yeah, we'll have to see, and of course next Wednesday we'll be able to bring you the results.
Yeah.
So my prediction, if I had to give one, I'm going to say it's probably going to be Beltre and Helton.
Mm-hmm.
Mauer, I don't know how he's going to track on votes. I don't know how he's going to track on the 50% that's unknown. He deserves it, but I don't know how he's going to track on his first year. I don't know. Him and Wagner are kind of the same. They seem like they're going to be part of the class next year, which, by the way, there's a new headliner next year. It's Ichiro. I can't wait for someone to not vote for him and explain to me why the all-time hits leader in the world, he has more. If you count his time in Japan, he has way more than Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Is not a Hall of Famer. I would love to hear that explanation. You know what I mean? I just want to hear it. Why he's not a Hall of Famer. But we will see from that. But we will. My prediction is locks. I'd be surprised if Beltre's a lock. I think Helton would be surprising if he doesn't get in. I think Mauer would be kind of in the middle, and then Wagner will probably be in next year.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks that he's had it for his 10th year, but he deserves it. Chase, do you have any predictions for it?
I think Beltre will get in. No, I'm
think so?
I'm with you. Beltre, Helton, deserving for sure.
They'll be. I think those are 2 locks, and then everyone else just kind of. We'll see how they track. I mean,
Yeah. I know. I want to say Mauer, but
Yeah.
I know how you are with the first year. So
I don't care about the first year.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
If he's in, he's in. He should be in.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But Michigan, we did not talk about this last time we were up here, but Michigan won the national championship. Great for them.
Congratulations.
I got a guy I went to high school with. Was left tackle. Darius Henderson. He's going to the draft this year. 2 Waxahachie guys. Him and Dwayne Richardson, starting safety from Texas A&M. So 2 guys that I actually have met and went to high school with in this draft. So it's kind of cool to see that Waxahachie kid.
Congrats to Michigan, though.
Yeah, congrats. They deserved it. We can talk about sign stealing. People making comparisons to the Astros. It's not the same thing. I don't think it was as prevalent, and this feels like a rogue assistant more than it does hardball and top down. Astros was multiple assistants, head coach knew, owner knew, GM knew, everybody knew, and everybody stayed quiet. This was a little bit different. I don't think everyone knew. And then there have been reports that it's murky. But we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what comes out of it. But I'm not putting much stock into it. And I think it was Stallions being a rogue assistant. In my estimation of it, which is different from the Astros, it wasn't one rogue assistant. It was players and assistant and coach and everybody. But congratulations. There's a lot of guys in the draft this year. I mean, obviously, for the Cowboys' sake, Blake Corum would be...
Yeah, I mean,
Corum
in the third round, Roman Wilson in the third round.
It'd be a lot of fun. But, I mean, McCarthy, they got some talent coming in this year.
I'm staying away from J.J. McCarthy. I think he made a mistake going to the draft.
So I think he did too, but we'll see.
It's okay.
But Chris, them and Penix, look, Penix went from a bona fide top 10 pick to, is he going to slip out of the first round? And I think that's where Penix is for me. I haven't watched him. Obviously, I'll get to draft season in just a second, but I'll talk about it here in a little bit. But he didn't have a great game. Michigan just seemed like they were the better team, and they won. And in other college news, I think it's major enough to talk about. Nick Saban retired. Congrats, Coach Saban. He was great. The greatest college coach of all time.
And speaking of Washington, Kalen DeBoer getting the job.
And that's what I was pivoting to. Yeah, DeBoer goes to LA. I think it was the perfect hire for them.
Yeah.
Because he's a guy that has rebuilt a school, so now he gets to go and he gets the resources of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is everyone's decommitting. There's
been a lot of guys gone to Texas.
He lost Bond to Texas, which that'll be fun to watch. Him and Ewers.
And Brackenshire.
They lost their safety. I'm not going to know their names. They lost their starting left tackle. I think it was him. I think this guy went to IMG Academy. They lost a Proctor.
Brackenshire, right? Is that his name, the linebacker?
I think so.
Brackenshire?
And then they lost their starting safety. They're losing a lot of talent. Plus, they're losing some talent to the draft. They're losing Kool-Aid McKinstry. They're losing Dallas Turner. J.C. Latham. They're going to lose the receiver. The receiver. I can't remember his name, but they're losing one of the receivers in the draft. I cannot remember his name, but I'm completely blanking. But I'm picturing his face, but I cannot think of his name.
Bama.
Yeah, Bama. But so they're losing some talent. I mean, you have Milroe coming back, but it'll be interesting to see how DeBoer is able to, I'll say rebuild Alabama, but bring them back to powerhouse stature. And then we got to get to the sad news.
The NFL.
It's a bad week. It was a bad weekend of football. There was one good game, and it was the Lions. Congrats to the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Those fans deserve it, man. I'm rooting for Lions and Texans, and I would not mind seeing the Bills win just because they've never won, and that's a great feeling. I know that feeling, and so. But we gotta get to the bad thing. The Dallas Cowboys. I'm trying not to do a Joker laugh here, but it's
just a disappointing game. That's all I gotta say.
Sure, are we going with disappointing?
That's the nicest way I could put it.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, just a disappointing game from everything. The coaching, the defense, Dak. But now again, we'll go more into detail, but I'm not putting this 100% on Dak. I think people are crazy saying they want to get rid of Dak when people two days before the game were, he was an MVP candidate.
Look, I want to ask all of you. This is where I wish I had a speaker to every human in America, or at least every Dallas Cowboys fan. Okay. If not Dak, who? Give me a guy. Trey Lance?
Yeah, no.
That's funny, Trey Lance. Hey, I mean, no. No. Absolutely not. Now, if he lights up a preseason game, I'll look at him. But no. If not Dak, then who? Let's say your grand idea is trade Dak. What are you going to get for him? You get a first round pick. Are you going to get a top 5 pick? Probably not. And that's not a knock on Dak. That's the contract uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fact that he has one more year, and if you're trading him, he has a no trade clause. So he may waive it, but would he want to come back to that team? We don't know. But let's say you get some stupid team. Let's say the Bears want to trade for Dak Prescott. So then let's say that you have the first overall pick. Caleb Williams scares me. Drake May, haven't seen. And Jaden Daniels will be fun. But you can't guarantee they're going to be better than Dak. And you're not going to get up there, so it doesn't matter. So you may get up to the top 12. You may get in Penix McCarthy range. But are they better than Dak? I don't think so. I just don't. So Dak is the best you're going to get. So, okay, let's forget about getting rid of him. Let's get rid of everything else. And let's figure out what can we improve around him. Because we improved some, but, okay, Brandon Cooks was not utilized properly. We can all agree on that. McCarthy, I know how you feel.
No,
and you know how I feel. Winning, that was bad. Winning 12 games is great. I'm not saying it's not. And I know there's a lot of teams out there that would give their left arm to to win 12 games a year. The problem is, in the words of the great Billy Bean, if you lose the last game of the year, to modify it a little bit, nobody gives a crap. Nobody cares. You lost in the wild card round. You got destroyed. No one cares about 12-win season. That's wonderful. You won 12 games. Hang that in AT&T Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Back-to-back 12-win seasons, 2 division titles. What'd you get from it? 1 playoff win. And at the end of the day, playoff success is the only thing that matters. And I get that the what matters is the first step is getting to the playoffs. Okay, well, McCarthy's done that. Maybe it's winning the division, having a great record. McCarthy's accomplished all of the first couple steps, but he's yet to accomplish the next step, which is winning playoff games. He's yet to accomplish that. He's won one, not even games. He's won 1 playoff game with us. So I think he's got to go. I think, and people want to say 12-win seasons. How much of that is McCarthy, and how much of that is the absolutely loaded roster he has at his disposal?
Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre.
I mean, imagine what. Let's just say, Belichick. We hired Belichick, and let's say Belichick got fired in 2010. Let's just say when Garrett was hired, we would have won at least 4, at least 3 with Belichick between then and now. If the roster stays the same the entire time, I think Belichick wins at least 3 here. I think 14 is a win for us. I think 16 is a win for us, and I think this year could have been a win for us with an actual good head coach in there. I mean, you've had Jason since Jimmy Johnson. You've had 2 competent head coaches. 2. That's Bill Parcells and I'd say Wade Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, bad. Just very average, very just. And I think it stems from a problem that Jerry has. And I've been telling people, my family, this, so they'll hear this again. But, I think Jerry thinks it's easy. I think Jerry thinks that in the first, 4 or 5 years of my ownership tenure, we won 2 Super Bowls. Then a 3rd. So it's easy. Anybody can do this. I've seen Jimmy Johnson make all the moves. I can make all these moves. And I'll hire any coach I want because 500 coaches can win the Super Bowl. That's a quote. So, omitting the fact that Jimmy Johnson built those teams, mostly, I'd say 95% of the team was Jimmy's, and personal moves were all him. And, getting 3 Hall of Famers, I mean, great on Jimmy. I mean, he didn't draft Irvin, but he did draft Aikman, he drafted Emmett. It's frustrating because I think Jerry thinks, well, Jimmy did it, so I seen what he can do. So what I'm gonna, it's not an Arkansas accent, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build a team because I can do it, because anybody can do this thing. If Jimmy can do it, anybody can do it. Then I'll bring in any head coach because we'll just have the triplets again, and any head coach can win. Not realizing that Jimmy Johnson's also a very, very, very good head coach. One of the greatest of all time. He just never got the years to show that he was. That is what I hate, is that Jerry seems to think it's easy.
I think the problem is Jerry doesn't understand how good the 90s teams were.
Yeah.
That's what's not clicking. Excuse me.
The triplets.
That's what's not clicking, is he doesn't understand how good that team was. And I'm not saying that the team now is bad, but it's nowhere near what it was.
You don't have that. I mean, you have 2 Hall of Famers, at least, in Martin and Smith. They're both on your offensive line. And as an offensive line, I'm not knocking the O-line, but I'm just saying your Hall of Famers are not at quarterback, running back, receiver, and then Dion at corner for one of the Super Bowls. You know what I mean? You're not rocking with that. That, I think it's, and in the Hall of Fame coach, I think Jerry needs to get a real head coach. And if you don't fire McCarthy, I think it's a huge mistake. And the reason I think it's a huge mistake is you're basically saying, well, we'll punt, and next year, if it doesn't work out again, then we'll fire everybody. Well, you said that last year. You said if McCarthy doesn't do anything in the playoffs, that we'll have to evaluate his job, which AKA means we're going to fire him. And then he took a big crap in the playoffs, and now you're thinking about keeping him. You're going back on what you said you were going to do. Because if you don't evaluate that playoff game and come to the conclusion that McCarthy probably needs to go,
the thing is that we can have all the optimism of landing Belichick, of landing Vrabel, of landing Harbaugh, etc.
Will Jerry do it?
Jerry will never, ever do it. And I hope I'm proven wrong.
Yeah.
Because Jerry doesn't want to be told what to do. That's the problem. Jerry will never give the coach access. You got to let we brought it up last week or whenever we met, right? What's the difference between the Rangers and the Cowboys?
Organization.
Chris Young let Bruce Bochy do his thing, and look what happened. Jerry will never let now. I'm not saying if Jerry let McCarthy do something, maybe, but McCarthy's not that type. He's not the guy that will. He's not a Belichick when it comes to personality. I'm not talking about coaching. I'm talking about personality. He's not those type of guys' personality where you are going to win because of his personality. And if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And with Jerry, he wants the credit. It's what I've always thought.
That's the problem.
Jerry wants to be able to say, I built this. And he wants to be given that credit. And he never will. Because even if we do win one, we're going to give the credit to Will McClay and Dak and the head coaches and all of that. It's frustrating because you hope there's change, but you don't know if there will be. And the thing is, I would love to hire an offensive coach. I'd love to hire Bobby Slowick from the Texans. But the problem, or Ben Johnson from the Lions. But the problem is that we've had an offensive coach the last 2 times.
Yeah.
I mean, for the last, almost 15 years, we've had an offensive head coach. I think it's time, like I was saying earlier, may need to go defense. Well, if you want to go defense, you've got at least 2 of them. To be fair, I believe Harbaugh's an offensive coach because he was a quarterback. But you have...
But the Michigan team was just so defensive powered. I mean...
The thing is Vrabel and Belichick are 2 of the great defensive coaches. And I don't think he'll hire Vrabel because Vrabel wants more front office pull. And as long as Bill is willing to relinquish that GM control, which I think he is, I'd be okay with it. As long as he's willing to be a normal head coach and have that normal head coach input of, I like these types of players, I need this kind of player, this is what I like, this is what I need, I'm fine with that. Dan Quinn, I've never seen, it's so weird. Literally,
he's got to go too.
Saturday, going into the game, I'm thinking, man, Quinn could be leaving. That sucks. Now please, Quinn, leave, bye, go somewhere else. I think everything that could have gone wrong with his defense went wrong. I think that a lot of the holes were exposed. A lot of the places where his defense was lacking were exposed. One of them being if you don't get a turnover, you're in a bad position. We weren't generating much pressure. We weren't covering. Excuse me. We, for some reason, ran a lot of zone coverage instead of man, which we've been running a man all year. Obviously, losing Van Der Esch and DeMarvion Overshone hurt your linebacking core, clearly. Yeah. And losing Diggs hurt, but I mean, it's why I want Bill, because I want the defensive coach, and then I want to bring in an OC that's competent, that's modern, that's, modern, someone that does what good offenses do. Hell, give me Shanahan's offensive tight ends assistants coffee runner guy. I don't know. But give me somebody that comes from the Shanahan tree or McVay or someone like that. Anyway.
Yeah.
There's your Cowboys rant. It's moving to the offseason. I mean, you can't blow it up. That's the thing people, let's just blow it up and rebuild.
Nope.
Why? Okay, yes, you get a lot of picks for Parsons and Lamb and Diggs and Bland and all those guys, but are you going to really be able to replace those guys? There's no guarantee. You have those guys in the building. You cannot guarantee you're going to go out and find them again. So,
and what sucks to say is that this team can still be successful and win. I mean,
it's coaching. It comes down to coaching. Yeah. We need a better coaching. And I think just doing some of the housekeeping things, keeping a lot of the guys here, keeping most of the band back together, having another good draft. You still have draft picks. You have your first 3 picks. You have the ability to add more good players. This year, you're drafting a little more for need than you are best player available. Last year was trying to draft depth, right? Drafted Mozzie, drafted Schoonmaker, drafted Demo. So this year, it's about drafting, I think,
starters,
offensive line, linebacker,
receiver. I will stand by receiver.
Receiver would be fine.
I will stand by receiver.
Receiver would be great. Maybe you look to free agency to fill that void because I think Cooks his contract's not expiring.
No, I want to keep Cooks.
So keep Cooks, keep Lamb.
I want to make Cooks our 3.
Jettison Gallup. Get Gallup off my team. I know he blocks. He does those little things, or rework his contract because his contract is way too much for what we're getting for him. But we'll see.
I'd like to get Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I would like Derrick Henry, but we'll see.
That's the only thing we need.
And I want a running back.
A power.
Say I wouldn't mind power. I wouldn't mind speed. I wouldn't mind somebody. Give me somebody. But we'll get into more of the draft as the offseason progresses. Obviously, as everyone knows, the draft is my thing. Still getting all the names on the board, and then we'll start scouting and maneuvering them and cutting guys off because it's going to be like 800-something players on the board, and then it'll be whittled down to probably somewhere between 300 and 400. So we'll see. The wild card week was just a dud. It was just a lot of bad games.
Mm-hmm.
But divisional. Obviously, this does not count for our predictions game. Chase did win.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. We'll move on. The divisional round, on Saturday, you have Texans at Ravens, Packers at Niners. And Sunday, you got Bucks at Lions and Chiefs at Bills. By the way, someone asked Todd Bowles, and someone made a joke that's probably one of those, like, social, like political media or just regular news media people assigned to a sports story. And because they asked Todd Bowles, how do you think you're going to contend with the weather in Detroit? Even though Detroit's been playing in a dome stadium for the last 50 years. And that's why you have sports people cover sports things and you don't bring other people to cover those things. I'm going to take the Ravens. I love the Texans. I think they can win. They're kind of playing with house money here, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta go with the Ravens, but
yeah, good team, but yeah. I thought it'll be a good game. Packers at Niners. The Packers play like that. They got a chance.
Yeah.
I'll be rooting. I know people are going to call me crazy. I don't hate this Packers team. I hated the Rodgers Packers teams because the Dez catch and in 16,
Jared Cook, yeah.
Jared Cook, but also I remember being pissed off at the officials in that game. I can't remember what it was. I remember there being a pass interference, or there was no call or a called one that I was screaming at the TV about. And I was only 12? So, I remember, so I felt like we were robbed by Rodgers, the big bad guy. I like this Packers team. I love watching them. They're a lot of fun. I don't like them beating my team, but I will enjoy watching them still. I don't harbor any resentment. It's not like the Niners.
Mm-mm.
But I'm gonna pick the Niners, but it's 51-49. I know it probably shouldn't be that close, but for me it is. If the Packers play like that again.
I'm gonna go Niners.
Bucks at Lions, give me the Lions.
I think this will be the only game where I really think it'll be a double-digit win.
Yeah, the Bucks are a good team, but they're not a great one. The Lions are a great team.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chiefs at Bills.
I'll go with whoever you don't take.
I'm gonna say Buffalo. I think their corners are gonna play tough. I think Mahomes doesn't have receivers. I think Mahomes on the road is gonna be interesting to see for the first time. His first playoff game on the road does not obviously Super Bowl being neutral. So we'll see. But I'm going Bills on that one, and
I actually want to take Buffalo too because I think that we're
not keeping track.
I know. I think that they're just a better team.
Yeah.
And I think that the Chiefs have their number the last 2 years, but I think now is the time where they flipped the switch. This is their year.
I think the funny one, the interesting storyline no one's talking about is if Reed loses, does he retire? He's old. I'm not saying he's going to, but does he?
I think if he wins it all, he retires.
It's possible, but some coaching news. If you have. This is all the playoff games I have here. Obviously, Gerard Mayo to the Patriots. I like it in the sense that you knew he was being groomed to be the next head coach. Maybe not this soon, but
I think it was a little interesting that they didn't even look outside of the organization.
The problem I have with the Patriots is they're not bringing in a GM. So I think that's the dumbest decision possible to see. This is a draft you cannot fumble, and you're not having a GM.
JJ McCarthy, round 1.
That's rough. So we'll see. No, it's gonna be some tackle from Marshall in the first. But we will see what they do. But Belichick and Harbaugh both interviewed for the Falcons job. I believe Harbaugh interviewed for the Chargers job. So rumor is that Belichick wants a project. He wants a team that's good but is underachieving, and that fits the Chargers, that fits the Cowboys, and that fits the Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. It sounds like maybe that he has the fire to coach still. He hasn't gone stale. But I can't think of any other big coaching news right now. Mike Tomlin sounds like he's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Good for the Steelers, I guess. 18 years and you've won one Super Bowl, and it was like
but no
his
losing
second
seasons.
year. I think you got to fire Tomlin, not because he's bad, but because you've had him for 18 years. And what have you done in that space? Not a ton. So you kind of need. That is one of those times I think change for sake of change is kind of a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Tomlin will latch on. I think Tomlin will be great somewhere else. I think he needs to get somewhere new and build something new than what he has the Steelers. It's just going stale. To me, it is. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Chase, if you have anything else to add?
No, nice being back.
Yeah,
We'll
it is
be
nice
back
being
on a
back.
consistent basis every Wednesday.
Yep. And again, we'll be going more into the draft. I don't know if we're going to do a full segment on draft stuff. I don't know. We haven't really talked about it yet.
We'll do our mocks.
We'll do our mocks.
We'll have the draft show on draft night.
Sprinkled in. I may just do like, hey, I may just do like a couple players that I looked at this year, that week, and said I really like this guy, and this guy's kind of rising, and maybe just maybe 5 minutes on it or whatever. But thank you guys for listening. Talk to y'all next week.
See you guys later.
Yep.